Former FBI Director James Comey has dodged a bullet, but he still has trouble brewing. We'll tell you about it. And President Trump has a primary contender. Former United States Representative Joe Walsh, a conservative Republican, a Tea Party activist, is running against President Trump in a primary. And President Trump's campaign responded. Whatever. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. The Inspector General for the Department of Justice released a report this morning in which James Comey was not indicted. Now, depending on what news outlets you listen to and which ones you hear, you will hear it go anywhere from Comey was rebuked because he broke FBI rules, which he did, to Comey exonerated because he was not indicted. Now, it all hinges on one simple thing. Did he leak classified information? And the answer that the Inspector General found was no. So let me again make this clear. James Comey, former FBI director, did leak information to the press. He did violate Department of Justice rules in doing so, but he did not leak classified information. That's the difference. So there are people who have been yearning, and I'm among them, for him to get justice. And what the Inspector General found was that in this exact situation, where he gave a handwritten note to somebody at the New York Times, that the information that he gave to the New York Times reporter was a violation of the FBI's rules, but it was not a criminal act because what he leaked was not classified. So that's it. He dodged the bullet. Now, some of the headlines, Associated Press, I think Bloomberg I looked at, they both are very critical of Comey, saying he did break the rules of the FBI. And one FBI spokesperson said, or Department of Justice spokesperson said, if members of the FBI did this on a regular basis, it would make it very difficult for us to do any investigations. Now think about that. If the FBI came to your house, interviewed you regarding something not classified, if they leaked the content of that conversation to the press, who'd want to talk to the FBI? Even if it's not a criminal act. Who would talk to them if they said, yeah, we just talked to Bobby so-and-so or Susie Smith, and here's what we've learned so far? People would be saying, I'm not talking to him. I'm not talking to him. So I have not read the full report. It came out just before we started recording, so I cannot give you more details than I have already read. But this we know. Comey is elated. He's doing a victory dance saying, hey, you people who've said that I was leaking classified information, an apology isn't necessary, but a comment might be nice. Here's the problem, friends. What the report did not deal with was the FISA courts, the secret courts that give authority to spy on people, was the FISA court warrants that Comey signed the application. See, that Steele dossier, the one that was paid for by Hillary's campaign that was just totally fake, basically 90% of it from beginning to end was fake. That's what launched the whole Russian investigation. This was actually helped put together by Russians, okay? So the Russian collusion really turned out to be with Hillary and her campaign. Comey knowingly signed requests to get warrants to spy on President Trump's associates, knowing that the information he was giving to the courts was false. That is a crime. And that was not dealt with in this report from the Solicitor General, or rather from the Attorney General's office. So we don't know what's going to happen to Comey on the next part of it. And the next part, the deliberate deceit of the FISA courts, deliberately tricking them, that was always going to be a much bigger deal. And for whatever reason, Attorney General Barr and Horowitz, who put out the report this morning, Michael Horowitz put out this report today, for whatever reason, they've decided to separate them. And there's people, it's all conjecture, saying that that's because in the second part of this report, there are going to be criminal referrals because laws were clearly broken. You can't go to a court knowingly lying to them to get a search warrant against somebody. And yet that's exactly what the FBI did, and Comey did it specifically with his own signature. All right, when we come back, President Trump's new primary opponent. I was talking with somebody yesterday who said, why would someone even do this? Does he have a chance to win? And I thought, man, I know way more about this than the average person would even dream of. I'm going to explain to you how former Congressman Joe Walsh can make hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions, and could then later position himself to run for the U.S. Senate or even the presidency. Don't go away. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Spent the last year Rocky Mountain Way. Not that Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh, he was a congressman in Illinois. He came in 2010, former congressman, and he's a Tea Party activist, radio show host. He has announced that he's running against President Trump. He called President Trump a bigot. He called him a bully. He said he's a narcissist. He keeps calling him that guy, that guy, that guy. Why would somebody like this run for president? A friend of mine asked me yesterday, well, could he possibly win? I said, there's no chance he can win. Zero chance. President Trump's approval rating inside of the Republican Party is at 90%, okay? This man doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. In fact, it reminds me of the story of the flea inside the elephant, and the elephant walked across, the flea was in the elephant's ear, and the elephant walked across this old rickety bridge in India, and got to the other side, and the flea said to the elephant, boy, we sure shook that bridge, didn't we? Yeah, we. So President Trump's re-election campaign, the media spokesman, when presented with the news, said, whatever. That was their official comment, whatever. But it begs the question, why? Why would he want to run? Now, I'm going to explain to you, and I'm actually going to do a separate video explaining why Joe Walsh is running for office, okay? And I'm going to actually, you know what we'll do? We'll make this and we'll put it up so that people can see it for the next 12 months. I want to explain, or 10 months, however long it is. And then it can be archived, and then you'll say, oh, Randall was right. So I'm going to explain to you why this is a great career move for Joe Walsh in the long run, and it is a big money pot for him in the short run. Okay, are you ready? This is why. So, do I know his motives? No, I know what he stands to gain financially and with jobs. So here we go, all right? This is how this system works. So that you understand my credentials. I have been in the Christian right for over 35 years. I have raised millions and millions of dollars over that span for various causes, for various battles, political campaigns. I've been hired as a copywriter to raise money. And I know this industry. I know the fundraising side of it, the mailing list side of it. I know it. And I'm going to explain to you why he is running. All right, number one. This is not in order of importance, but this is how he stands to gain money. Number one, mailing lists. Now, here's how this works. A snail mail list, that means U.S. mail. A U.S. mail list of bona fide donors, confirmed donors, people who've contributed money, is worth a fortune. The list is worth a fortune. Here's why. Mr. Walsh and his people, if he's got any kind of money of his own, he can put it into the campaign. He can go and rent a list. So you could put in XYZ list, any list that you could think of. Think of any mailing that you get that is a hardcore right-wing conservative group or person or cause or candidate, okay? That list that has your name on it. Remember, you're getting mail from people you've never heard of, groups you've never supported. Why? Because the person who owns that list, let's say it's Ministry A or Candidate A. Candidate A has 100,000 names. They rent those names to Joe Walsh. They rent them to him for 15 cents per name. So it costs $15,000 to rent a list of 100,000 names. They go to a printer. They print a really cool letter. They hire a copywriter who writes this beautiful letter. They make the outside of the envelope snazzy, and they send it out to 100,000 people, and they use bulk mail or political rate mail. All right? So maybe the whole package, the whole letter, between the rental of the list and the printing and hiring the copywriter, maybe that 100,000 piece letter costs $80,000 to send out. Maybe it's 80 cents per piece to go in the mail, including postage, printing, copywriting, everything. Maybe it costs $1. Maybe they hire a really high-end company who has a great response rate. So they send that letter out. It goes to 100,000 people. Let's say 1% of those people respond. That's 1,000 names. Let's say that the average contribution for those 1,000 people is $50. Okay? So they send out 100,000 letters. They bring in $50,000. Wait a minute. If it cost them $100,000 to send it out, let's use round numbers. Let's say it cost $1 a piece to get them out. 100,000 letters going out, costs $100,000. They get back 1%, 1,000 responses, averaging $50. That cost them, they brought in 50, they spent 100, they lost $50,000. That list, those 1,000 names, about 50% of them are going to give multiple times over the next X months. Those 500 names, 1/2 of 1%, those 500 names are worth about $1,000 per name in continued contributions. So 500 times about 1,000 each, that's $500,000. Those 500 people, all right, remember 1,000 people responded and half of them are going to give multiple times. Those 500 people are worth about $1,000 a piece in contributions because they're going to give multiple times over the next 3 years to whatever cause that Joe Walsh is associated with. So that $100,000 investment, which lost $50,000 on the front end, could be worth easily $500,000 just in contributions. So for somebody with deep pockets and a vision or a name or good copywriter or a good package producer who makes something look cool, there is money in those hills. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Hold on, stay with me through this break. I got to go. I'll be right back. I'm going to explain to you. That's just the beginning of how much money he stands to make in this. Please don't go away.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. Its teachings are good and peaceful. And those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
We've been told that Muslim terrorists have hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. But Islamic art and literature tell a very different story. To know the truth, we only have to study the narrative of the founder of Islam, Muhammad, in his own words. Okay, I'm back. So Joe Walsh lost 50 grand. He spent 100 grand to send out 100,000 letters, brought back in 50,000, but now he's got 1,000 names. He doesn't have to rent those 1,000 names again. He owns them. Once someone contributes to him, he owns the name. The other names he can never mail to again. He can only mail once. Only one time. It's a rental fee for one time. So he's got those 1,000 names. Then he goes and rents another list, and he rents another list and another list, and he does this over and over. They're just churning out literally hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of pieces of mail to develop their own internal list of people who have given them one gift. So let's say over the course of the next 8 months while he does this, it's called prospecting, while he's sending out letters to people he doesn't know, let's say that he builds up his own list of 50,000 names. 50,000 people donated to Joe Walsh for president. Those names are giving to him. So he's going to dig out of debt. He's going to pay for all the mailing. All right? That's what's going to happen. He's got a strong right-wing mail house behind him that is funneling money out, sending it out, and he's going to have a bill, and they're going to send out again and again. When that list is built, let's say it's 50,000 names that have donated to him. He now owns those names. What do you think he can do with those names? He can rent them. So he can buy the list. He would have to make some type of a contribution to his federal campaign to obtain those names. But then once he's got them under his control, he's got 50,000 names, he can rent them for 15 cents a name. That's $7,500 a pop. He can rent them 3 or 4 times a month. Let's say he rents them twice a month, just twice a month. He rents them twice a month. He gets $15,000 a month just for renting the names. He's got to pay a little brokerage fee to the list lender, the one who rents the list out. So now he's sitting back, sipping down iced tea, making a 6-digit income just from renting the list. But there's more. He will start some Tea Party group, Tea Party Truth or Tea Party Activist, something, and he's got those names, and he'll start sending out fundraising letters to build up the cash of whatever organization he starts. But there's more. He now has name recognition because he ran against the president. What does he want? He can't win. So what does he want over the next 4 years? He wants a radio gig or a TV commentator gig on CNN or MSNBC about how bad President Trump is. He's positioning himself to be the go-to person for one of the anti-Trump networks. And he can be a commentator as a former Congressman, Tea Party activist Joe Walsh joins us right now. Joe, what's your take on what President Trump has said? But this man is a liar. This man is a buffoon. I can't believe the American people fell for it again. He's such a narcissist. So he might then get a contract with CNN or MSNBC for $150,000 to $250,000 a year just to be available to them to be on screen for 3-4 minutes at a clip. Because he's a Republican. And having a Republican that you can have to criticize the president, oh, that's worth its weight in gold. So he stands to make all this money. He can go on the speaking tour. He can go to various left-leaning and left-wing colleges that want to show that there are a few decent Republicans out there. He can get money to go and speak about how we've got to get along and the politics of division has got to stop. And there's things that we disagree with, but we can get along. A minimum for that kind of speaking gig is going to be $5,000. He could get $7,500 or $10,000 per speaking engagement, plus all expenses paid. Then, of course, there's the book deal. He can write a book and get a nice advance from somebody. This is all just because he ran for president. He can rent the list, he can start an organization, he can get speaking gigs, he can get a book deal, he can go on television as a commentator, former Republican congressman, just because he ran for president with his slick website and beating up President Trump. Friends, make no bones about it. This presidential run is for Joe Walsh and what he hopes to do in the future. I've got to take a break. We'll talk about the future when we come back. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, "What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Welcome back, friend. So, Congressman Joe Walsh, if he decided that he wanted to run for the U.S. Senate, he's got huge name recognition because of this. His name recognition will go up, which is critical to any election. If he did want to run for president in 2024 against Mike Pence in a primary, that's how he could position himself with Republicans. I spoke up against President Trump. Mike Pence was his lackey. It's time for honesty in the Republican Party. He's in Illinois, hasn't been a Republican senator from Illinois in many years, but he could just move to Indiana. He could relocate to another nearby state where he's got good name recognition and a chance of winning. This is about his short, medium, and long-term future. And he's been sitting with never Trumpers. He's sitting with fundraising pros, printers, copywriters, package designers, web designers who hate Trump and want some place that they can make a little cheddar cheese. Because the copywriters for these letters, I'm telling you what I know, copywriters for good letters are going to make from $2,500 to $10,000 or more per letter. So if I'm a copywriter and I've written copy before, I know what I'm talking about, and you say, Joe, tell me all your dreams, hopes, visions, and then I sit down and I write a letter, give it back to him, and he makes his tweaks, and he's like, wow, this is a great letter. And it's a fundraising letter designed to get people to part from their money by touching all these hot buttons. So the fundraising writer gets to raise money. The printer gets to get money. The person in the website development gets to make money. His campaign consultants are all on the teat. They're all making money. So this is a place for never Trumpers to make a little bit of money and to position him for the future. That's what this is about. Watch his name, see what happens over the coming years. You'll say, oh, Randall told me about this. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.